Hi friends, it's me, Magdalene, and I hope you're doing well. So this video will be all about scholarships. I'll be covering what the different types of scholarships are, especially in New Zealand, how to find them, how to stand a good chance of getting them, and also how to write your statement. This video will be particularly helpful if you are a high school student in New Zealand looking for scholarships to try and fund your tertiary education. Now, if you're a junior in high school watching this video, first of all, well done. I've included a section at the end of the video where I'll be covering some tips and tricks on how best to prepare for scholarship applications because early preparation really is the key. Lastly, if you'd like to know where I'm taking the direction of this channel, then stay till the very end for an update. There are three most common types of scholarships in New Zealand. The first one is scholarships offered by tertiary education providers like universities and polytechs. The second one is scholarships offered by organisations or foundations and trusts like the Rotary Club. And the last one is New Zealand scholarships. This video will mainly focus on the first two scholarships. New Zealand scholarships are quite different. They're run by NZQA and the monetary reward varies depending on the level of scholarship you achieve. They are an actual examination that you sit for a particular subject, and the content is intended to be an extension of the usual Year 12 and Year 13 NCEA content. There are many sites that you can use to find scholarships, such as StudySpy and the websites of the tertiary education providers. I've included the links in the descriptions. Also, don't forget to ask your school careers advisors because they might know about scholarships that are not publicly advertised or not commonly known. So, how do you actually get a scholarship? The first thing to do is to make sure that you meet the requirements, and this could be your residency status or your grade requirements or whatever. This is by far the most important step. Now, every scholarship is different, but usually for most of the scholarships in New Zealand, these are the main things that are considered. Your grades, leadership capabilities, sporting and cultural involvements, and lastly, contribution to the community. While most scholarships prefer that you have excellences and A's and above, there are also some that focus more on your sporting and cultural involvements. Also, it's important to note that they look at your Year 12/NCEA Level 2 grades as opposed to your Year 13/NCEA Level 3 grades. For leadership capabilities, this includes things like if you are a prefect, the head of a club, a sports team captain, or whatever. Basically any setting where you demonstrated that you had extra responsibility in a team setting. For sporting and cultural involvements, this includes things like participation in sports clubs or any performing arts groups like orchestras, string orchestras, and like theatre clubs. For contribution to the community, this is all about volunteering. You can have examples of going to a rest home to volunteer, helping to sell poppies for Anzac Day, or even doing peer tutoring. One thing to note is that you don't just have to think about these things in a school setting. So for example, for leadership capabilities, if you have the role of like a team leader or a teacher in a community setting like a church, you can also talk about that as well. So yeah, in summary, in order to stand a good chance of getting a scholarship, it's not all about the grades. They do look at all these other aspects because they want to see that you are a well-rounded person. It will also help if you have good references, so be sure to get a teacher that you have a good relationship with to write your reference, and give them enough time to do that as well. Lastly, make sure you write a good statement. Now here's the part which will probably take the most time. Writing your statement. Some scholarships require it and some don't, so it's quite dependent. So for example, I applied for UC's Engineering High Achiever Scholarship, and their question was, back in 2017, describe your commitment to or interest in the Bachelor of Engineering Honours degree program, 500 words maximum. So here are a few tips to craft a good statement. The first one is to clarify and identify the themes. Make sure you thoroughly understand the question and identify the key themes that they're looking for. So for example, in that question, the key themes would be interest, commitment, and the engineering program. Specifically use these one. The second tip is to brainstorm. So literally brain dump every single thing you can think about that is relevant to the question. So for example, for me, I thought, okay, well, I can talk about how I had a childhood interest in how things work. I could talk about how I attended the physics tournament back in high school, and I can talk about how I'm committed to decreasing the gender barrier in engineering. Third tip is to repeat key themes. So throughout your essay, make sure you use the same words that are used in the essay question or use synonyms. So in my case, that would be commitment and interest. And the fourth tip is to make sure you have a good introduction and conclusion. Make sure that your introduction draws the reader in and your conclusion makes an impression. So one way that you can do this is by mentioning how going to the university to study this degree can benefit you and how you can in turn also give back to the university community. The last tip is about tone. So I got around 6 scholarships from across Auckland University, Canterbury and Otago, and from my experience, I have learned that you don't actually need an overly formal tone, such as using unnecessarily big words or phrases or whatever. It's actually nice to be a little bit more personable and use language devices like anecdotes. It just makes it more enjoyable and fun to read overall, I feel. So as I mentioned in my intro, good on you if you are a junior in high school watching this video, because it's always good to start your preparation early. For example, you do need to get good grades for most of the scholarships. So if you build good study habits and build up good grades from young, then it's much easier for you to eventually get good grades in year 12 as well, if you keep it up. So tip number 1 and tip number 2 are quite obvious, and they are to build up a good record of grades and also to get involved in extracurricular activities. The third tip is to make a list of all the involvements and things you get up to, such as maybe competitions won, awards received, clubs that you are part of, because when you start applying for scholarships, they will actually ask you to list all these things. So if you have a list somewhere, a complete list of all the things that you've done, it makes life so much easier. Tip number 4 is to be on the lookout. So make sure that you know what all the scholarships are and when they open and close. So a good thing to do is at the start of the year that you intend to apply scholarships, make sure that you put all the dates into your calendar so that you don't forget. Tip number 5 is to start your preparation early if you intend to do New Zealand scholarships. Most schools have tutorials, so I'd recommend going to them, like if you're in year 12. And the thing is, you don't even need to be in year 13 to sit these exams. You can sit them in year 12, and a lot of students who do them in year 12 also do extremely well. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking it out early. So I've been reflecting a lot on my content creation journey, and I finally found my why. My why for creating content is to document my youth and to also share what I've learned as I navigate through my 20s, particularly around the fields of uni, career, tech, entrepreneurship, and personal growth. So in case you didn't know, I'm actually a final year student studying computer science and entrepreneurship, and I'll be graduating at the end of this year. So I've been a student for quite a few years now. I've been a student for most of my life, and I like to think that I've learned a great deal about being a student, especially about being a computer science student. So I would like to share what I've learned throughout all these years. So I'll be making videos about study tip advice, how to do job applications, how to prepare for interviews, how to make a good LinkedIn profile, how to write a CV, that sort of stuff. And according to my analytics, most of my viewers are actually around college age, so hopefully these videos will be helpful for you. I've created a Google form with all the topics I plan to cover, so it would be great if you could let me know if you have any specific questions around those topics so I can provide more value in the videos. So yeah, that's the end of the video, and thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful for you. If you have any questions or suggestions, then feel free to comment down below because I reply to all comments. All the best with your applications, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!